Luke Fickell is back in 2026, according to Wisconsin Athletic Director Chris McIntosh. McIntosh says he has a plan. He has a plan to fix it. Fix a lot of things. Let's hit the sirens. Let's go. Welcome to Talking Badgers Emergency Podcast Edition. I don't know that we've done one of these yet, but that's what we got going today. It is the show powered by BadgerNotes.com. If you want to call in, I'm going to make sure that I have this in the chat. You are welcome to call into the show today and let your voice be heard because, oh, wow, if this is not a doozy of a Thursday 4 p.m. news dump. Just the last thing I suppose they want folks on the East Coast to see as they leave the office today. But Chris McIntosh, through a series of interviews conducted with members of the media, local, national, and the like today, announces that Luke Fickell will indeed return for 2026. Keep in mind, this is the head coach that has yet to hit a ranked win over an opponent, has not yet defeated a ranked opponent, has not won a game in the Big Ten in over a year since October 19th, 2024, has not won a game this season since week 2. And in the last 47 days now, we have reached 47 days, 3 public votes of confidence from the athletic director. When you get to the point where you have to issue not 1, not 2, but 3 public votes of confidence in your guy, it shows, regardless of what the decision is, a decision had to be made and had to be made publicly at this point, because otherwise you are coaching with someone on your sideline who has no idea what their fate is, cannot go forward. And we said on the program last night, on the After Dark program, that some of the comments that Luke Fickell had been making in his presser on Tuesday, talking about how we can get too fixated on winning and how they are seeing a growth. It's slight and it's internal, but we are seeing a growth that is maybe harder to see externally. Those are the comments of not a guy who is staring down the barrel of a 2-10 season and losing his job. Those are the comments of a guy who certainly sounded like he had certain assurances. And do we know the exact timeline? No. Did he have that reassurance given to him by that Tuesday press conference? We are only left to speculate at this point in time. I am sure, regardless of what the game inside Camp Randall Stadium looks like on Saturday against the Washington Huskies, boy, howdy, is that press conference going to be chock full of questions that are not about that game that kicks off at 3:30 p.m. on one Barry Alvarez field. That is a press conference that is going to be full of questions about Luke Fickell's job status and the job security he was given today by one Wisconsin Director of Athletics, Chris McIntosh. We're going to hit the guys in the chat while we are doing this. Tyler Strieber, McIntosh sealed his fate with this decision. I do not disagree. I suppose we don't know. I think there is one way in which that might not be true, and I will get to that in a moment. McIntosh sealed his fate with this decision. For better or worse, he's committed to going down with the ship. Got to give the man his props for that, I guess, even if I think he's wrong. So where this may not necessarily be the case is in the announcement, in the videos with Badger Connect, in his interviews with Pete Thamel of ESPN. Lots of Chris McIntosh talk about alignment between not he and Luke Fickell, but man, did you hear the name Chancellor Mnuchin come up a whole heck of a lot in these interviews, a whole heck of a lot. And yes, when things are getting so bad, you have to invoke the name of the chancellor. Again, an indication of where things are, but it certainly seems to me that you do not go out and make such a significant decision without having some understanding of what your Chris McIntosh, your fate as an athletic director would be if things still do not get back on the right path. To me, it reads pretty clearly as a declaration of support for a guy who knows what his fate is now, regardless of what Luke Fickell's fate is. Whether those things are tied together or not, none of us have enough information to determine definitively. But I think he knows the answer to that one way or another. Him talking very generously about Chancellor Mnuchin, their institutional alignment, and what they're going to need from donors, from fans, and the like, I think makes that very clear to me. Bo Dragon, lifelong Badger fan, but now I just hate watch them. You got to watch however you want to watch. Mark D517, this is all on Mnuchin. We need new chancellor. The job of a university chancellor is, I'm sorry, folks, it's much bigger than overseeing the success or failure of the football team. It just is. Not that certain people can't be had by whatever happens, but yeah. Bo Fickell's evaluation sucks. Longo is horrible. Grimes is horrible. His QB choices have been horrible. Seeing a trend. Tyler Mnuchin came from UCLA, not the most prestigious sports programs as of late there. Worry she has control of our athletics as chancellor. I don't know, very speculative. And Matthew Rudolph, I can get behind this, but 7-8 wins is the floor for 2026, or all of this is for nothing. Fick has some major shortcomings that have nothing to do with the X's and O's that will need to be addressed. Chris McIntosh did go out of his way in an interview with Jesse Temple of Badger Connect and saying, what does it mean to be successful in the upcoming year? And to make sure that I quote him relatively directly, but he goes out of his way to say, it goes beyond wins and losses, which certainly have to at this point, given that you are 2-6 on this season and you are on the glide path to missing back-to-back bowl games for the first time in 3 decades. McIntosh said his priority is to continue to grow the program in a way that puts us in a position to achieve those expectations, those competing for championships expectations. He says it comes in many forms. It's not limited to wins and losses, not limited to them, which means they are part of it. He says there's so many factors that contribute to that. That's where his priority is. Goes out of his way to say he's excited about where the program can go, and there is a tremendous amount of work that needs to be done. And that's where, look, obviously, yes, if you're 2-6, that is what happens. And at that point is when he goes back to talk about the support and how he is grateful for the support from Chancellor Mnuchin. And they have a plan, whatever that plan looks like. If it's the increased investment that comes, I don't know if it's coming from the university side. I don't know if it's coming from the foundation, the endowment. We have really no way of knowing. It certainly does not sound like from the Jim Polzine column interview with Ted Kellner that they have a group, a huge portion of funds lined up from activist donor types who are very gung-ho pro Luke Fickell that is all of a sudden going to swoop down and invest a ton of money. McIntosh told ESPN, I want to get this, Chancellor Mnuchin and I are aligned on significantly elevating investment in our program to compete at the highest level. And this is where he talks a lot about the investment that supposedly is to come. And this ESPN article is very focused on that. That seems to be what the focus, the talking point that the program wants, is that they are institutionally aligned on what the kind of investment is required to compete at the level that they want to compete at. And he says they have a plan, and that plan is started. It is in action. One of the things they have learned this season is seeing where their holes are as a program, seeing where their deficiencies are as a program. And that makes it very clear to me that they do not see the deficiencies necessarily being limited to the on-field product. Because if it's limited to the on-field product, this is not something that you just learn this season. And if it's something that you have learned this season, are concerned about because of this season, it would be something that also dates back to last season, right? When you went 5-7. It's clearly a program thing, an institution thing, and that's something they have looked back. And don't want to speak about it in as definitive a terms of that's what I think. That's what I believe is being communicated by somebody else. I don't know enough. I don't know enough about the financial program. There's not, because of the way the money works in the athletic department, where so much of the money comes from the foundation. Like, we don't have really great insight onto what exactly in real time the financials of the athletic department are, just because of the way it's structured and the way it is funded. But McIntosh tells Fable at ESPN, he says, if Wisconsin is going to be as competitive as we expect, the support has to be competitive. There's no getting around it. Our people, our fans are passionate about Wisconsin football. I'd have it no other way. A successful program is important to the university, our state, and our letterman. The season has caused us all to have to look from within. Luke has had to do that. I've had to do that. He has a willingness to be better. So do I, and so does Wisconsin. From an institutional perspective, our intention is to be, in terms of our investment, on par with those that we intend to compete with. Our expectation then, right, if it's our intention is to be our investments on par with who we intend to compete with, begs the question, who do you intend to compete with? Our expectations are to compete at the highest level in the Big Ten and beyond. I don't know where Wisconsin finds the money to compete at the highest level of the Big Ten and beyond. That would be a level of investment in this program unprecedented to at any point in the tremendously long history of college football. What the quote from McIntosh says is that we as a university are going to fundamentally alter the financial landscape of the Big Ten by making Wisconsin football a financial fundraising powerhouse. That's the subtext behind the quote. And that's a really freaking high bar that you have now set for yourself. At a time where you have a football program on the brink of its worst stretch in 3 decades, its worst stretch of many of the lifetimes of the parents who have players on this football team. I don't know if that maths. It's close. You could set the bar to say, we want to get back to bowl games. We want to get back and make sure we're winning double-digit games every season. But instead, you've taken the bar and say, all right, we recognize the bar right now is on the floor. Let's get out a ladder, place it on top of a stack of books, and set it on a higher rung than we have ever set it before. And I know that right now is not the time for him to go out and say, we set our expectations too high when we brought the guy in. We're going to keep him and lower the expectations. I get that you can't really do that, but there is a way to do, if not quite that, to do something that is not, our investment is going to be on par with the highest level in the Big Ten and beyond. That is a bold, bold, bold statement. That goes beyond anything of the, like, Luke Fickell is back for 2026, which I know is going to be the big story coming out of today. And I just don't think that's the big story. I think the big story is, are you going to put up or shut up with now the unprecedented amount of money you have told the public you plan to invest in the program? And it's going to become very obvious whether or not that money is being invested, because you're going to see it in recruiting acquisitions. We're going to see it in like 4 weeks on National Signing Day if they can hold this recruiting class together that is falling apart at the seams. Aiden Reeder decommitted from Wisconsin on Monday and has committed to the University of Michigan, by the way. If you believe, if you still believe that just luck and circumstances have made it so that Luke Fickell has not had a real opportunity to succeed on the field with quarterback injuries, which I've said many times in this program, I do not give him excuses for. But in this year, where you are missing a third, more than a third of your week 1 starting lineup, as we now progress into November, more than a third of that is injured, many of them out for the season or presumably out for the season. Many other impact players out beyond that. 8 of the 22 projected week 1 starters did not play against Oregon. If you can say all that, if you can say big swing and a miss on Phil Longo, let's go back and still believe, the guy we thought we were getting is still the guy we thought we were getting. If that's what your inner monologue is as Chris McIntosh, I get it. I get it. I can quibble about whether or not I agree with it, but I get it. What I don't get is saying, and we never gave him a chance, and we're too poor. I don't understand, if you're Chris McIntosh, why that's what you come out and say publicly. It is very strange to me that this is the PR angle the university has taken. Very strange to me. You could relatively quietly go about your business. You could huddle around a group of reporters, 1, 2, get the state newspapers, and say, hey, by the way, this is the plan. You got 10 minutes to ask questions. That would seem totally reasonable. But the media tour Chris McIntosh is on today. You only do that if you are supremely confident in not in that the media tour is going to, like, in some ways, either satisfy the fan base, reassure recruits, save face to donors, one of those things. And you only do that if you're really confident that your plan's going to work. Because if you're looking around a year from now, and Wisconsin has not yet won a Big Ten game after 2 full calendar years, and you got all these clips of you sitting next to Jesse Temple on Badger Connect, and you got all of the interview junk from Pete Thamel talking about how we are going to compete financially with the best of the best. Whew, those quotes are going to come back and bite you fast. So you better have a very high degree of certainty that your plan is going to work. And there's just no way to know if that's actually going to be the case until you hit the field next September in Green Bay against the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. This is a tremendous, from a scale perspective, media blitz on this today for a team that really could have just chosen to quietly go about its business. There's been all the smoke about Chris McIntosh being on calls with the recruits, presumably giving them assurances that Luke Fickell would be back in 2026. And this has just been leaking out, where you could have released a statement. You could have released that statement as the clock hit 0 against Minnesota. I don't know what good this does distracting from the on-field product right now. The only reason you do this at this scale is because you believe the conversation has been more of a distraction. The uncertainty has been more of a distraction than all this is. And like I said at the top, I understand why you think you have to do this today. I really do. I don't quite understand the scale. It feels like a lot. I don't understand where they think they're going to get the money. That's not really for me to understand. It's for them to wait and see. There's, 25 million reasons why you don't depart with Luke Fickell at the end of this season. They are dollars. It's why I've said from the very top of the year, why I don't think he was going to be done at the end of this season, regardless of the fact that I didn't think they were going to have a very successful one. They have been trotting out for the last few weeks now to members of the national media, placing nuggets of talking points, clearly pitching stories, because there's been a number of stories in the national media about health of quarterbacks, about the injuries that have befallen the team overall. Seems very clear that this has been coming. Very clear that this has been coming. Very clear that they wanted to lay some seeds of, and I don't even mean this pejoratively, but I lay some seeds of excuse making, right? Of reason making. If you think excuses is an inherently negative word, that's not really the way I'm trying to use it. Ultimately, and like I said, if you think Luke Fickell still is the guy that you hired in 2022, and McIntosh told ESPN the same things that made Luke Fickell a unanimously great hire in 2022 remain. He's a winner, program builder, and developer of talent, and he understands the Big Ten. That's why you do this. That's why. You can disagree with it, but that's sound reasoning. That's sound reasoning. Going to be a fascinating 4 weeks to come, I suppose. And I don't totally know what the temperature of everything is if you leave the season on a 10-game losing streak. It is so hard for me to just envision what that looks like. What that looks like entering an off season on a 10-game losing streak where the head coach is not going anywhere. It also is a declaration that, like, nothing is given for 2027. I don't think coming out and making a statement, coming out and having to make 3 public statements of support in 47 days. One more, like once every 2 weeks, basically, you've come out and made a public statement of support. Just a little bit over every 2 weeks. When you have to do that, it is also sending a signal that 2026 might be it. Like, even if they hold this recruiting class together, what tremendous downward pressure on trying to build it for 2027? I don't know what that looks like. And I know that's a long ways down the line from now ish, but those guys committing is not that far down the road. It's I don't totally I don't I don't totally understand it. I want to make sure I hit on all of the McIntosh quotes that I wanted to hit on today. And what McIntosh continually in all of these quotes that I'm looking over comes back to is this alignment of support from the very top, from the university, from the chancellor, and it's a I think it's very clear that McIntosh is trying either trying to tie his horse to somebody else or that has already been successfully done, and he understands what his fate is one way or another, whether or not this project works out. They want to invest in the program, make it better. Ugh. He does say in one quote, you know, as McIntosh looks forward to 26 and beyond, he says, um, then goes on to say, you know, as he looks forward to 26 and beyond, his confidence in Luke Fickell has not waned at all since the time he hired him. Has the same belief in what he brings to Wisconsin, his ability to win, his ability as a proven winner to develop talent, his understanding of the Big Ten. Kind of the same quote that he gave to Thamel, and maybe he gives the same quote of 26 and beyond as well, but maybe it's slightly chopped up version from the Badger Connect conversation that he has. But yeah, that's I don't know if anybody else has other big thoughts. I basically came on here very little outline, had a handful of quotes that I wanted to talk about coming out of these stories, and got on and just let it rip for 28 minutes here. Um, ugh, let's see. Yeah, I mean, y'all popping in the chat. I don't know. I don't know that I have anything else to say. We'll see what happens. I am looking forward now, I guess, to being inside Camp Randall Stadium and being inside that post game presser on Saturday. Something I did not necessarily feel before today. It's at least the conversation's at least a little bit different. That makes coming on doing this a little bit easier. So that's all I got, folks. For badgernotes.com, I've been Kedrick Stumbris. If you want to catch us live, like we have been right now, youtube.com/@talkingbadgers. Otherwise, the audio platform after the fact, wherever you listen to podcasts. We'll be back again soon. We'll get this in the feed shortly, and then we'll go live, I think, after the basketball game tomorrow evening against the Northern Illinois Huskies. I got to get out of here so I can watch Caroline Harvey, Layla Edwards, Kirsten Sims go play for Team USA against Canada tonight in an hour on NHL Network. So until we talk to you all again very soon. On Wisconsin, check your couch cushions, folks. Chris McIntosh is going to be giving you a call real soon, I'm sure.